First day loss to the Vikings. That's bad. Now Jay Ajayi is out for the season with a torn ACL. That is worse. Here's why. The defending champs are 2-3 on the year with Thursday night football coming up. Their opponents, division rival New York Giants. Head coach Doug Pederson says it's time to get rid of the Super Bowl hangover.
That's the thing you guard against. You guard against so-called burnout or the energy levels down. You also have to guard against what success looks like to everybody, and how that can pull on people, and distract people, players, coaches, I'm included. It's a challenge, but our guys have really embraced it, quite honestly. I've seen them, the way they work in practice and during the week and how they prepare themselves, and right now it's just not carrying over enough into the games.
So, Cece, that's what I took away from what he said, the most interesting part. He sees the energy and the focus and all of it in practice, and for whatever reason, he doesn't see that in the games. Isn't that on the head coach, then, to make sure his guys carry that practice energy and focus into actual Sundays?
I mean, what I take is a really mixed bag of things. Like, as a player, a lot of times you listen to your coach in the press conference, and typically he says the same things that he says in the team meetings. So I would leave a team meeting confused because he's telling me I got Super Bowl hangover. So he just gave me a prescription to that because Malcolm Jenkins and the other players they saying they don't have a Super Bowl hangover. Now, is he talking from his own personal experience because he went on a book tour, he wrote a book, he's doing a lot of appearances, he's doing endorsements, which he wasn't doing before? Is he talking about himself? Is he talking about the team? Because I believe it's hard to repeat in the NFL. It's harder than any of the other sports. That's why we haven't had the multiple repeats over the last 20 years. It's because of parity. It's because of the salary cap, the top of the salary cap and the bottom of the salary cap, that teams have a threshold that they must get to. I believe it's hard to come back, but I believe Doug Pederson just making up. He's just coaching by the seat of his pants. He's just sitting there making stuff up in the press, because he said a lot of things, they didn't make sense together. Now, if I was in a silo and they were by themselves, they would have made sense. But if the team was practicing better, they would be playing better. So I didn't like that. They haven't played well all through the summer. Preseason was bad. First 4 games of the season, we've seen what they've been. So that's not true, Doug. They couldn't be practicing that well and then get to the games and fall apart. So I wouldn't panic. But thinking that the Super Bowl doesn't have a negative effect on teams, we'd be naive looking at the last 20 years, what they've done to teams in the Super Bowl.
But the thing is, the one team that, if you look at the last 20 years of defending champs, should be, I don't want to say immune, but least likely to fall victim to this, is a team that last year, so many of their key guys for this year weren't in the Super Bowl. Quarterback wasn't there, left tackle wasn't there, inside linebacker wasn't there. They brought in Michael Bennett, they brought in Haloti Ngata.
So all those guys shouldn't have a Super Bowl hangover.
Right. Shouldn't have it at all. They should have the opposite of that. I'm joining a champion that
they should have been working out the next day.
Absolutely right. Either figuratively if they're rehabbing from injury, or literally. That was what I thought was going to be an edge Philly had, was a lack of complacency, because Carson Wentz he could wear the ring, but doesn't feel great about it. Jason Peters, who Bart Scott called a future Hall of Famer, has had a wonderful career. He missed what was going to be the crowning achievement of his career. They brought in, now they move on from Torrey Smith, bring in Mike Wallace. Now he's injured, but they bring in Michael Bennett. They bring in Haloti Ngata. There are enough new faces that you would think they wouldn't fall prey to this.
What it ultimately amounts to, Nick and Jenna, is guys aren't playing well. Lane Johnson, the right tackle, is not having a great season. Kelsey, their center, he's still a good player. He's still not having the season he had last year. Jason Peters, in and out of the lineup. So they're not getting the productivity that they'd be getting. Nelson Aguilar is not the slot receiver he was. I believe Alshon Jeffries gives them a boost. Ertz has played consistently and been well, but they don't have the running game. They don't have 3 or 4 running backs they can send at you. Sproles coming back was supposed to give them a boost. They haven't had him on a regular basis. So they still have a lot of key things that could really be positive at the end of the season that I'm not counting on, that they just haven't gotten off to the good start you expect from the Super Bowl team.
I know it's a loaded question, but why are teams defending them differently?
They're
Is
not
it
playing
schedule?
as well. Listen, Lane Johnson.
Why are they all collectively not playing as well?
I mean, I can't answer that. I know this. Lane Johnson's the best right tackle in football last year. This year he's given up strip sacks in back-to-back games. Like, that's just one example. It's not all on Lane, obviously, but they're just not playing as well.
Lane, they can't run the ball, so now they get in obvious passing situations. Frank Wright, we just thought it was, that's no big deal. You lose your offensive coordinator. You also lose your quarterback coach, so you got a different voice that's calling the plays in a different rhythm. He doesn't think like Frank Wright. He doesn't think like Doug Pederson, but he's in a position to try to enhance his name as a coach, and it's not going the same way. The defense, they're not making big plays on third down. Their front seven's playing well, getting to the passer, but their back end is not playing well. So collectively, you have all these guys, individuals in a team sport that leads to the team getting off to a slow start.
Howie Roseman last year had Jay Ajayi right before the deadline. It was a huge addition. He's now out for the year with a torn ACL. I wonder if they make another move for a Le'Veon Bell, Shady McCoy type at this year's deadline.
And they did free up the cap space if they want to do that. Take a break. Coming up, we look back on Drew Brees' amazing night. One more segment. It'll be a good one. Next on First Things First.
Jenna Wolf putting her capologist hat on.
Saw that?
Freed up some cap space.